The UFC, also known as the Ultimate Fighting Championship, is the world's top mixed martial arts organization. It features fighters from various backgrounds competing in the octagon using a combination of striking and grappling techniques. Over the years, the UFC has gained millions of fans all over the world for its intense matches and skilled athletes. As of recently, I've been watching a lot of these fights and I found the concept to be pretty cool. Two fighters enter the octagon and can use whatever fighting techniques to take their opponents down. However, it's clear that not everyone supports this form of entertainment.
Yeah, but it's sort of like human cockfighting in my view, or pit bull fighting. Guys are elbowing each other to the heads. Guys are kneeing each other. They get into leg locks and start rolling around on the ground.
Human cockfighting. A term that was synonymous with the UFC in its early stages. When the UFC was first founded, people criticized the organization and claimed it was cruel to pit fighters against each other, comparing its brutality and cruelty to that of animal blood sports. Without a doubt, mixed martial arts is a brutal sport. There's a whole lot of blood, brain damage, and devastating knockouts. With that, it raised questions about the ethics of watching/supporting combat sports. Let's explore how different ethical philosophies could potentially approach the ethics of watching UFC fights. Central to Kantian ethics is the concept of treating individuals as ends in themselves, rather than merely as means to an end. This means that individuals should never be used or exploited for the benefit of others, but rather should be respected and treated with dignity as autonomous beings capable of rational thought and moral agency. Kantian critics of UFC fights might argue that the sport violates this principle by treating fighters as mere instruments for entertainment rather than individuals deserving of respect and dignity. They may contend that the inherently violent nature of MMA exploits the physical prowess and skills of the fighters for the enjoyment of spectators, without fully considering the well-being and autonomy of the participants themselves. People don't scream in terror, but rather passionately cheer for knockouts, brutal hits, and physical domination in the octagon. From a Kantian perspective, UFC fights are not morally right, as they exploit fighters as a form of entertainment. In contrast, a utilitarian is likely to support UFC fights. In essence, utilitarian ideas encourage actions that ensure the greatest good for the greatest number. This sounds a bit contradictory. Two fighters are duking it out in the middle of the octagon, getting brain damage and hurting each other. What's the good in that? Well, the good is for the enjoyment of the spectators. UFC fights have millions of live viewers, and it's clear that the fans enjoy watching them. A utilitarian could argue that the pain the two fighters feel during the fight simply can't compete with the joy and excitement the spectators get from watching. As utilitarianism values the maximum amount of good for the most amount of people, it's a no-brainer that the pleasure of millions is worth the suffering of two.